By the end of this video, you will be able to use some of the classes present in the Bootstrap and use them to create different page layouts. Hi, welcome back. I hope you have completed the exercise given in this topic. And if you have not, I would advise you to pause the video here and first complete the exercise. So, this is how our bootstrap_example folder looks like. It has 4 files: bootstrap.css, bootstrap.min.css. Both are basically the same files. The difference between them is that the minified file does not contain spaces and is near to impossible to comprehend. We will get into the details of these files later in this video. Next, we have index.html and style.css files, which we will also understand shortly. In the index.html file, notice carefully that we have linked the bootstrap.min.css file and the style.css file in the head tag of the HTML file. Bootstrap CSS file, or in our case bootstrap.min.css file, will always go up first in the HTML file. And then we add our custom CSS file. This is done because in case we want to override some style properties. And then we have added one line at the top, which we have discussed in the topic media queries. This is added so as to make the web page device friendly. Then in the body tag, we have a division container inside which we have rows and columns. Don't worry about the terms container, row and col. We will understand them shortly in this video. So what does this code do? It creates a container in which we have 2 rows present, and inside these rows we have 3 and 2 columns respectively as defined in our HTML code. We have color coded the rows and columns as defined in the style.css for better understanding. As mentioned in the previous topic, Bootstrap is a CSS library or a CSS file that contains some pre-written CSS code. So, in bootstrap.css, you can see it comes with a plot of predefined CSS. You can see that there are more than 10,000 lines of CSS already present in this file. So, it becomes important to understand this file in order to use Bootstrap and to use it in our HTML. As most of the CSS is already written, we will try to use it more in our code so as to write minimal CSS of our own. In short, we can say that learning Bootstrap is learning bootstrap.css because this is what we are going to use in our HTML. Coming back to our HTML file, we have used a class container. A container represents an entire block, generally used for a page or for sections of a page. Remember that whenever we want to create a layout of a web page, we start with the div element first. And if we see the bootstrap.css file, we can see the class container that has some properties in it. This means these properties will be applicable to this division. Next, we have class row in our HTML, and if we see it in the Bootstrap, you can see that there are some properties that are automatically applied to this class row. The row creates a flex box and itself becomes a flex container, and all the calls directly inside the rows become flex items. Let us understand using the inspect element. We will right click on the first column inside the first row and will select the inspect element. This opens the inspect element. Now you can see the styles associated with this row. We have not written these styles anywhere in our CSS file except the border color for rows and columns. All these styles are loaded from the bootstrap.css file. For the class row, you can see that it is display flex, which makes this row a flex container, and the immediate divs inside the flex container as flex items. Now if we click on col4, it has its own properties. You can explore these properties on your own while doing the inspect element. If you notice, there is a number associated with col like 4 and 6 in our case. These numbers have a special meaning that tells how much width that column will take in a row. So 4 means that the column will take a width of 33.33%. And 6 means that the width of the column will be 50%, which you can see in the Bootstrap file. But let me help you understand it in a different way. Bootstrap has a 12 grid structure. This means each row is divided into 12 sections and each col or column can take n by 12 of the space, where n is any value from 1 to 12. If you see in the Bootstrap file, for every value of col there is a predefined width. Based on the value which we give to the cols, the col divs will take up n portions of the 12 sections of the total available width, that is, width of the parent row element. Now coming back to our HTML code, for the first class column we have defined the col value as 4. This means this column will take a width of 4 by 12 into 100, that is 33% of the parent element width. Similarly, the width of the second and third class rows will be 33.33% as the col value is 4. Also, notice that here we have 3 columns and each column is assigned a value 4. This makes the total value as 12, which means that all these columns will take the entire width of the parent element. Now what if I change the value of the second and third class col values as 6 and 2 respectively? Again, the total sum is 12, which means that the columns will take the entire width of the parent element. Pause the video for a moment and calculate the percentage width taken by each column. So for the first column, the width will be 4 by 12 into 100, that is equal to 33.33%. For the second column, the width will be 6 by 12 into 100, that is equal to 50%. And for the third column, the width will be 2 by 12 into 100, that is equal to 16.666%. Now this was the case when the sum of all values was 12. But there can be some cases where the sum of all the values can be greater or less than 12. So what will be the layout in such cases? Let's find out. Let me change the values first so that the sum is greater than 12. Here, the total number is greater than 12, that is 14, and you can see that the third col has shifted to the next line. And let me change the numbers again. Okay, let me change it to 4, 3 and 3. Here the sum is less than 12 and you can see that we have some space available on the right side. Now, instead of numbers, we can assign auto as the value to the col. Let me assign this value for the second col. This allows the column to take only that much space that is required for the content, which you can see in the output. We can in fact not assign any value to the column. This means it will take any remaining extra space. So you can see the first column is taking 33.33% of the space. The second column is taking that much space to fit in the content. And the third column is taking the entire space available. Now what if for two columns we have defined the value as col? What will be the width of the column in this case? This is something I will leave to you to find out. To summarize, to create a layout we start with a div element container. And then inside this div element, we can create rows and columns as per the layout we want to create for a web page. In our case, we have created 2 rows and inside those rows, we have 3 and 2 columns respectively. In the next video, we will continue to explore more Bootstrap properties for creating a layout.